So good afternoon. Welcome to a BW Business World Dialogue on leadership. And we have yet another a tall leader and an inspirational leader and a human-centric leader with us. Mr. B. Thiagarajan is the Managing Director and CEO of Blue Star. Blue Star is this large air conditioning company. It works both in the B2C space and the business-to-business space. So welcome, Mr. Thiagarajan, to the BW Dialogue on Leadership. Tell us, we spoke last week before the lockdown was partially lifted. Business has started. Has the air conditioning sales taken off? Is there a partial return to sales in sub-segments? And if yes, tell us how much.
Good afternoon. It's always a pleasure to interact with you. Congratulations to BW Business World series. It's doing a great job. I am pleased to be part of that series of talks. Yes, from Monday, certain markets are opened. The last count is around 1,800 dealers across India out of around 6,000. And slowly it is beginning. Some places it is limited hours, some places it is limited crowd allowed, understandably so. So there is some silver lining.
Fantastic. So you said almost 1/3 of your dealers are active. So I'm sure it will lead to some sales and the economy will benefit from it. The people that work in the ecosystem will work better in future if the wheels continue to flow. So coming to leadership and coming to the COVID environment, Mr. Thiagarajan, you've been in a corporate job for a long time. You've been a managing director and CEO for a while. And you're a person who travels 20 days out of 30 days. You've been at home for the last 44, 45 days. Tell us, how does it feel for a leader to be not able to be what he or she was before and to be able to lead himself before he or she leads others?
To be modest, it was frustrating to begin with. Then as leaders should, or as we have been taught to do so, adapt quickly to the new things. So one is adapting to this particular change, which is unprecedented in my life. I think after my professional career commenced in 1979, it is the first time I am at home for such a long time. The previous record before this was just 5 days without traveling. And so it was very painful, but I have adapted to this. At the same time, having hope that things will come back to normal. So the hope and faith in the future keeps you going.
Thank you. It's lovely to hear authenticity from leaders. Mr. Thiagarajan, I know, and you've told me in previous conversations that March, April, May, June, and maybe July are 50% of your sales in the year. Now, we lost March, we lost April, we will lose some part of May. Now, when such a loss of revenue happens, how do you deal with employees? How do you deal with your plans? How do you readjust? What do you tell yourself and say, this shall pass? And once this passes, this is how we will be. It won't be the same as before, but we'll make the best of what we have. Give us your thoughts there.
See, be it the world, be it the continent, be it the country, be it the companies or institutions, be it an individual, setbacks are common. In our own personal lives, we would have come across many setbacks again and again. And I would be surprised if there is a human being who have not undergone some setback. Then you bounce back, have faith in yourself, faith in the future. Blue Star is a 77-year-old company. It was founded in 1943 when the Second World War was going on. The founder left a very secure job to venture into a business. And from then on, Blue Star would have faced several challenges, right, throughout, whether it is emergency, whether it is the national liquidity crisis, whether it is India opening up to world economy, multinationals entering 9/11, 26/11, and 2008, so on and so forth. And therefore, we have learned to be resilient and cope with the pains on and off. It keeps coming, and it is also an opportunity to reinvent. That is the same, I think, for the world, for the continents, country, and the individuals. And we all reinvent ourselves whenever there is a setback.
So tell us, are there silver linings in this cloud beyond being able to focus on yourself, not travel? So better health, better relationships, more time to reflect, and there will be a new normal in the future. Tell us, how does a leader stay authentic with his team, but make the hard choices and the decisions that need to be made so that the company and the individuals in the company survive? So take us through the thought process when it comes. I know the positives are about more personal time, less travel, better health. You have a DNA of resilience, as you just shared. But tell us some of the hard decisions the leader has to take to be able to deal with the new abnormal or the new normal, whatever you wish to call it.
To be honest, I think my mind works more than my physical being. So I exert myself thinking about multiple things. In the process, also I have acquired some bad qualities, like my executive assistant onwards to the board members point out I am a poor listener because I keep on thinking. This.
So you're not in the. Are you saying sometimes you're not in the moment? You're thinking about the next thing. You're thinking about the future. You're engaged in thinking about something, but you have more time these days, so you're more in the now. Are you saying this?
I'm almost saying that, but with a little subtle difference in the sense that what has happened has happened. I won't be able to do anything about it. But what has to happen and how I can reorient my life, my job, and the responsibilities it brings along with it. So my mind works on that. That is, I am little interested in reviewing the past. My orientation, right from, I told you, 1979, I started my career. So I hate to review the past performance. It includes even the appraisals of my juniors. I think compared with my colleagues, I will be spending, in whichever company I work for, lesser time reviewing the past performance and look at what could be done better. So that is how my orientation is. So when a subject is being asked, that I am already thinking about that what all could be possibly manifesting in the future. So that is the first part of it. The second part is that this change is something huge. It was unprecedented. We had not thought about it at all in the past. So as you can imagine, I mentioned to you about my G7 interactions last year. The three subjects, which whether it is G7, G20, or UN, everyone focused till now was climate change to begin with. The second one was the terrorism. The third one was inequalities. These were the three subjects which they thought if we were to conquer, we will be in a position to manage the world better for the future. But then there is a new subject. Even though we had SARS and other virus experience, COVID-19 is a different thing altogether. So along with climate change, along with inequalities or terrorism, you now have another subject to deal with, which is the virus or pandemic. and COVID-19 will go away. Let us say 1 year, 18 months, there will be a treatment, there will be a vaccine. But the world is very certain now that such pandemics can keep happening at some intervals. So, therefore, the fact of the matter is that the world was not prepared to deal with it. It was totally unprepared for, and no wonder that India was, and no wonder companies such as ours, or no wonder individuals such as ours. So, I think that brings in a completely different dimension to the way in which we will progress. And the third is that I think it sets back the world by few years. I think it is at least 3 to 4 years we are put back. Then we will be spending quite a lot of time in going ahead and figuring out how we will conduct ourselves individually, as a community, and as a business, as a nation. I think the thought process is beginning. In the next 1 or 2 months of a time, people will have some idea. I think it will be 3 to 6 months. You will have a very clear idea what the new air travel is going to be, what new cinema
norms in
viewing
the
experience is
restaurants.
going to be,
What
or
will
the
be the new
restaurant,
norms in the restaurants?
or the banquets, or the conferences, how it will be. But I am certain that human kind will reinvent itself. Never in the history of the world we have been beaten. We will suffer, but we will bounce back with something. We endure, and therefore we will be reinventing ourselves. There will be a new way of life,
And
like after.
they say mother is the necessity of invention.
That is right. And after 26/11, or the hotels, we were wondering what kind of security checks. That was a new experience. We coped with that. And after 9/11, air travel security, we coped with that. And therefore, I think we will cope with this, and a new way of life will emerge. It is a painful process, but then, as far as the leaders are concerned, I think there are two issues. One is here and now you have to deal with the current crisis, because there is a revenue loss, profitability therefore, and cash flow crisis. Once you cope with this, you will be looking at how you should reinvent yourself. I think more than at any point of a time, innovation and creativity will be an important factor. Much more than that, I think is the guts that is required. Personally, you should be courageous. And even today, I find some relaxations are there. People may be hesitating to go out. That set of numbers are also huge. So the courage is something that is essential. I keep telling that you need to. A leader is a leader because people follow you and look forward to you, and therefore, unless and until you have a clear mind, conviction, and unless and until you have the courage, I don't think you deserve to be a leader. I can't afford to share my fear, anxiety, worries, all with my team at all. I have to make a decision, and I have to be having conviction. And again, I will quote my executive assistant. I remember this almost every day, in the sense that God will send many boats. It is for you to get hold of it and board on one.
Beautiful. I want to ask you two very personal questions at this point. One is, a leadership also a leader needs to look after himself or herself. Self-care is very important, right? So how does Mr. Thiagarajan motivate himself, equip himself, charge himself, find himself in a space where he's able to give a very large workforce? How are you able to, in some way, motivate yourself get the right ideas, because there is a new normal for you. You had plans about growth. You were looking forward to this year. Finally, it would have been a better year than the tepid year last year, relatively speaking. And I know all air conditioning companies were planning to have super improvements over their numbers. Now suddenly all those plans have gone out the window. So the painful thing of letting people go, salary cuts. I'm not talking just about you, I'm overall. So how does a leader live through all this? They say it's very lonely at the top. So tell us a little bit about your thought process.
So I happened to listen to Sri Ravi Shankar in an event organized by CII. He mentioned that you have to run the business with head and conduct your life with heart. Now, the business is run by me or my colleagues based on the shareholders' trust. It is a public limited company, and the investors have entrusted the job to you. So the corporate purpose of good governance, profit, growth, excellence, shareholder value creation, that has to be run applying your head, which means the best strategy that is appropriate in accordance with the expectations or the deliverables. Now, I have to confide in you that personally, I believe that I don't want to. I may sound philosophical or spiritual. God created me, and He won't let me down. And so I have faith in that unknown force that I will be looked after. And he is not a punishing God. That is the next one I need to keep reminding myself. And yes, I will fall, but I will get up, and that is how I will move forward. Now, in that context, my principle has been very simple for almost a decade, that you have to continue to learn and don't give up, number one. Books or any other medium through which you will continue to learn. Number two is you will keep yourself physically fit. And third is you will set aside a lot of time for contemplation. So therefore, leaders have to find some free time to reflect on something, and about their personal lives or the family, friends, about the company. You need your own space. Equally true is, I remember my coach from London Business School telling me that this is one of the finest lessons in 2006 I learned. Number one is that you need to have one life, which is professional life, office and the customer stakeholders. The second one is your family and personal life. You need to have a third vocation. It is to do with it's to do with social work, or you have some passion for yourself where you will. And so that contemplation combined with that is the one which will bring. There is no point in myself waking up with air conditioning, refrigeration market, and going to sleep with air conditioning and refrigeration market. In that case, I will do injustice to my own business and myself and the company. So it is not worth it. If I have to come out with bright ideas to deal with the here and now and to reinvent the company, I need that time for contemplation.
And you're saying COVID has provided you with that. So in some way, it has helped you think about the future and possibly imagine a better future given the circumstances.
True. Except that I think in a group, you deliver much more because we are people oriented, and companionship, crowd, fellowship makes you deliver better, but alone you are constrained. And I don't think from humankind you can take away that. I think that will unfold in the coming months. Of course, with what is the new word, social distancing, whomsoever invented it.
You're so right, Mr. Thiagarajan. Yesterday we were talking like this session with Ms. Debarati Sen, who was India MD of 3M, and she's now moved to the global headquarters in a really big position. And she said something similar to you, but in different words, and I want to share it with you. She said that we are more smarter when we are together rather than we are as individuals.
True.
So you echoed she also said something beautiful, which I'd like to share with you. So I asked her, what's your mantra for leadership? And I'm going to ask you that. And she said, my mantra for leadership is hunger, humility, and hustle. And I loved it. Because if you are not hungry and not seeking newer challenges, then, really, you stop growing. And you talked about learning, being fit, and contemplating, right? So humility, because, whatever you achieve is because of the God. We are only instruments. And we achieve because of our team members. We achieve because of luck. The luck favors the brave, and the harder you work, the luckier you get.
Absolutely.
Right? And third, she talked about hustle, which means sometimes taking chances, being curious, those kind of things. So tell us, what is Mr. Thiagarajan's leadership mantra, and what is Mr. Thiagarajan's leadership style?
I think for many years I suffered by pursuing perfection, and so that pursuit for perfection, starting from handwriting onwards, and what words I will use in drafting a letter, I think it is not worth it. So there is little amount of imperfection that you should allow. But then, whether what you come out with is a sustainable long-term solution for all the stakeholders. So when you prescribe a solution, whether it is fitting everyone who is part of the stakeholder group, whether it is employees, vendors, society, the shareholders, that is number one. Number two is that how you can be faster. So you need to do it with a great speed. And third one is that it is you can fail. You should allow yourself to fail at times, as long as you learn from that. So do not stop experimenting. Then it goes to the fifth discipline principles, where you have to deal with the mental models. I don't think over the years, especially in my case, that more than 4 decades you have been part of the corporate life, you will have baggage of your own, and therefore unlearning is equally important. And you should not distinguish between, whether it is a management guru or it is a graduate engineer trainee, or it is a caretaker at home. From all of them, you will be able to learn something. And that is the humility which I suppose you mentioned as well. So there is something to learn there. So I shed that whole part of perfection. And I think when I was pursuing perfection, I was not that effective. I quickly experiment and continue to experiment. Do not mind about failures, accept it and carry on. And rightly, you should have luck. And I think I am blessed abundantly in that regard.
I believe every word you say, and I was taking note. As they say, luck favors the brave, as I said before. And you are lucky if you believe you're lucky, because then your brain gets fired in a different way. You become optimistic. When you become optimistic, you make the efforts. Once you make the efforts, there's a very good chance that you will achieve what you want to.
True.
So it's a lot about what you tell yourself every day. there are two monkeys on your shoulder. One monkey is telling you something, another monkey is telling you another. It depends on which monkey you believe or you don't believe a monkey, Don't have a monkey on your shoulder. I want to come to a very, very important question that is on the minds of people here about job losses. It's about decimation of the economy. If you go by any estimate, we've lost 20% of our GDP already, right? And if COVID continues for long or longer or comes back in a bigger way, we risk more loss to the economy. MSMEs are facing risk of closure. So tell us, what is your prediction for the economy and what can we do with this literally VUCA economy? It's volatile, it's uncertain, it's complex, it's ambiguous. So give us your inputs on the economy and how businesses will be 2, 6, 12 months from now.
I earnestly sympathize with all those who might have already lost the jobs or potentially likely to lose the jobs or even salary cuts. First time I'm dealing with it, so I don't think that it should deter their determination. I think this is adverse moment. The pain is real, and how you will process within your mind and reinvent yourself is very important. So I'm not denying that there is a pain. Number two is that look, life is much more important than all other things it brings along.
Life versus livelihood.
That is right. And you have to have faith that you will be blessed with a much better vocation or a job, and fine, hell with it. If I have been rejected in this particular institution, you should not lose faith. The organization has asked you to leave because of its circumstances. Now you have.
So don't take it personally.
It should not be at all, because the same organization, if you take out your own performance appraisal of last year or go through the mails or the moments you recall the boss's praise to you, you were there because you were delivering. Otherwise, they would have got rid of you long ago. The current circumstances or the business models that is emerging may warrant them to be sending you home. But that is not your fault at all. You should not lose faith in yourself. It will be temporary, you have to believe, and you will be blessed with something more. And so you may say that it is a philosophical lecture, but you don't realize what the real pain is. All of us, I am telling you, including myself, have gone through pains of different kinds at different points of time. There, we have decided to end the life. I am confiding in you. At least there were 4 occasions in my life where I decided to end my life. So it is very, very common. Now coming back to, I told you life is more important. All of us do not know whether, I do not know whether I will wake up tomorrow, how long I will live. That is not in my hands. So therefore, I don't sit and worry about my life. I can choose to worry whether I will live tomorrow, how long I will live, what will happen to me. But I take for granted I will live. Same attitude is required as far as the job is concerned. Look, my life is more important than this goddamn job. That should be the attitude of the individuals in my view, irrespective of the age, whether youngsters, middle age, old age, number one. Next is that I keep telling this, that my campus recruits who join, I am upfront in telling them that, look, you have to put yourself more important first. That is, people will say the country first, then the institution or the company I work for, then myself. But I am again repeat that you have to have confidence that I am important in this. As long as I work for the company, I will give my 100% life. But It is not that all the time I am worried about my job. You will get a job, and you should, if you get a better job, you should leave at any point of a time. You are stupid if you are hanging on to a job, leaving away some better job that is on your way. It is adverse condition. Then they will say that, look, next 2 years, no jobs will happen. After 2008, it happened. And after World War II, massive employment opportunities came in. After liberalization, I'm telling you, even Blue Star as a company started doing extremely well after liberalization. Before that, Indian companies were worried what will happen, multinationals are coming. When multinational came in, our inner strength blossomed, that we went on to do well. I have a feeling there will be opportunities for everyone in the world, and India is well positioned. And I think India, if it acts very intelligently and smartly, will be in a position to reap the benefits of what would be the loss of China. And I think even in Europe, like for example, Italy will start importing quite a few things. Their manpower has completely reduced the working force, will need much more people. Now, I think migration will be a huge opportunity once this pandemic is over. The interim period is the one which you are supposed to worry about. I keep telling, I mentioned to you the newcomers, I reflect on like this. 100 years, if we live, it's a great thing in India. We are not into 105, 110 years we live. And we have to look at, it is just 36,500 days. The moment you come to that, then you will realize that, look, I may live, if I am to live for 100 years, let us say 40 more years, then all that I will be left with will be 12,000 days. Then the days become very precious to me. That why am I going to sit and more? In any case, sitting and worrying is not going to help you. This is the employer have told you that, look, I am sorry at this point of a time, I have to, you have to empathize with the employers as well. They have to protect the institution because the whole institution will sink in the process. Many more will lose. They have to keep the institution floating. At the same time, fine, at best you can ask, give me 3 months of a time, 4 months of a time, that I will figure out a job. Then you have to figure out that what opportunities will come your way. I think there are, already it is clear, plenty of opportunities are opening up. Imagine this whole country have to be vaccinated. And what kind of opportunities it will be throwing open in a very short span of time. Within 1 year of time, the huge population of India will have to be vaccinated. I touched upon last week that I think people will increasingly decide to move to the rural places which are safe. I think in cities we all suffered. So 60% of India's population is engaged in agriculture. Given the food security issues, I think rural economy offers immense opportunities. Only thing is we have not lived there so far. We have not pursued that. I think we should look at it very seriously. The rural economy is likely to blossom in a very big way. And I think villages are the destinations where we should aspire to live.
Fantastic. Just to build on your thinking, we lived in a shared economy, a sharing economy. We are moving to what we at business will call, and everyone's calling, the contactless economy. Tell us from a business perspective, what are the opportunities that the contactless economy throws, whether it's for individuals, for companies, for institutions? What are the business opportunities?
The very first one, I think, is the digital enablement of quite a few businesses, like I think e-commerce, home deliveries of whether it is grocery or food or consumer durables, that will pick up. I think the media was moving towards digital, and people have got used to living without physical newspapers for quite some time. There will be in Delhi, you're blessed actually, and it will, as I mentioned to you, it should coexist actually. Yeah, so therefore, there will be digital economy. I know for sure quite a few audience were added by Netflix or Amazon Prime during this period, and people, including myself, I will tell you, like insurance premium was paid by me by check. For the first time, I ended up paying, or after a long time, I ended up paying over uh, or digitally. So the very first contactless economy will begin from there. Now, travel will be limited for quite some time. I think till a vaccine is found and everybody is vaccinated, I don't think we will do travel extensively. In that context, how you will deal with your vendors or the customers, and the customers may not also invite you into your office, even if you want to go there for carrying out a negotiation or collecting a payment. So therefore, it is few things are possible, but at the same time, if you honestly ask me whether we are going to enjoy that to begin with, I doubt very much that we are used to meetings, we are used to going out, and we always felt that contact or personal interaction is very important. And I don't think without that we will be satisfied, but it is a reality.
Fantastic. Sanitation, hygiene will become more important. Last time we spoke, you talked about how air purifiers will become more important. You talked about the air purifier function in air conditioning will become even more important. You referred to sustainability initially. I want to move to a little more philosophical side. There are 7 questions already for you. And Prachi wants to know, crisis test through leadership skills. How are you protecting your employees in the future? Anjana Grewal wants to know, will leadership style need to be more empathetic in COVID years and times that follow rebuilding? Sumit Dhanuka. Sumit is a investor, and Sumit is saying that he's asking question about invest. Ganesh Natarajan, rural areas may not have the ability to cope with the large spread. Shouldn't we open up the urban economy and get more people to work? That's what Ganesh Natarajan is asking. T.S. Ramakrishna is asking, any tips about how to use the AC during COVID times in temperature and humidity? I'm referring to airborne transmission, if at all. So these are the kind of questions that are coming to us, and whichever you want to take in any particular. Vinay asked, mistakes generally are at entry level, and middle level management often do it in their career, and they cost them heavily. He's saying the mistakes that we do at the entry level, middle level management cost us, the professions, dearly. So these are the kind of questions being asked to you.
Broadly, I will answer. Number one is that the principle, that is, I told you that 3 to 4 years the companies will set back, so the cost structure has to be looked at. And instead of creating the job losses, to what extent salary cuts at the higher and middle levels can be taken in order to protect the jobs. So that is the first principle that will be applied. That even if you have to ask people to go home, send non-performers rather than the performers. So you have a scientific system of measuring the performance, then you apply that yardstick. So it is not straight away headcount cut alone. You should look at, according to me, the salary cuts and then forego the variable pay commissions from the board level onwards, and then look at the minimum job cut. That will be the principle that will be deployed. And if temporary contract workers, if you are to send them home, at least to provide them with an opportunity of a furlough with some minimum allowance so that they can sustain themselves during the interim period. The rural economy, urban economy, I have a feeling that the migrant laborers who have gone back, they were treated badly, honestly. I know several live cases. They have gone back with anger. We can get upset about their attitude of throwing away food or insisting or protesting and all that, but they were hurt. But much more than that, they are really concerned about their lives. They want to be with their family. I don't think they are going to come back so very easily at all. The next one is that we ourselves would prefer that, look, if I can transform a rural economy into a much bigger one, should I be looking at certain opportunities in the villages, and where specifically in agriculture, food processing, whether it is aquaculture, sericulture, and much more than that, an export oriented, without making them unsustainable, polluted cities, how we can help them improve. That we have to look at it. Rightly felt it is justified feeling that middle and senior level managers cost more. The new generation, younger employees, lower levels are not going to. The question to be asked is that, irrespective of the level, if someone is a non-performer, they should be asked to go. Second one is that if I don't think you should be looking at the levels. It is the question of competence. The world is fast moving towards. Today, there are CEOs at the age of 35. So, age should not be a consideration at all. And if someone is competent, capable, I don't think the companies are going to ask them to go away. And if it is happening somewhere, it is very unfortunate. I do not endorse that kind of an approach at all. Salary cuts should be higher at higher levels. That I am certain about that. Now, coming to air conditioning, there have been studies by American Society of Heating and Refrigeration Engineers, which is ASHRAE, Indian Air Conditioning and Heating Refrigeration Engineers Association, RAMA, which is Refrigeration Air Conditioning Manufacturers Association, CPWD. Many people have studied this. This virus is not an airborne disease. It is through droplets. The many medical papers are available that it is managed well between a temperature of 24 to 30 degrees centigrade. Below 24, it has a potential impact. Above 30, it has a potential impact. Number 2 is humidity. Between 40 to 70 is ideal. Ideally, between this humidity range, the virus will not survive. Now, humidity connection is it can gain weight and suspend in the air and carry it to the air conditioning ducts. Now, the good news is all air conditioning systems, you can set the temperature between 24 and 30, ideally 26, and it automatically takes care of the humidity between 40 and 70. So, on the contrary, even in monsoon, without using fans, you should use the air conditioning system because you will be able to control the humidity. The virus can survive above a humidity of 70, and therefore it is important to control the humidity. Only air conditioning system can do that. Now, let us say I am using the fan. The droplets can be carried through cross ventilation and go to the co-worker or something like that. Last point is, contrary to the belief that air conditioning systems are closed loop systems in a mall, cinema theater, hotel, office, air conditioning system is the most ventilated system. There is something called fresh air. Air changes take place every 1 hour. All that you have to do, therefore, is number one, get your filters changed. And before switching on the air conditioner after the lockdown, ventilate the room. Next thing is ensure that your fresh air ventilation system of the central air conditioning system is operating. If you are in a residence, if your air conditioning system is, if you have a room air conditioner, you can safely use it because it controls the temperature, set it at 26 degree, and humidity is automatically taken care of. Nothing to worry at all.
So I want to ask you my last two questions and let you go. One is your 3-2-1 prediction for the future. Some crystal ball grazing, what do you see happening both on the positive side or the negative side? Second, is there a book that you'd recommend to our readers to read or a movie to watch? For example, when we were talking about Pope, on 31st December, I watched The Two Popes. What a movie. It's about conversation amongst two popes. It's a movie that does nothing. It has great architecture and conversation. And it's worth watching. So, one, your predictions for the future. Second, 1 or 2 books that you want to recommend to our viewers, readers.
I think it will be this whole COVID-19 would have subsided by this year end. 2021 new year, we would be in a much safer world. And at the same time, we would have reinvented ourselves personally, and quite a few companies will look forward to hiring back, growth. So I look at it as it is a momentary problem of 6 to 9 months of time. Slowly. Number two is, if I look at it 5 years from now, India will be the fastest growing economy. And I think it will be also placing itself in the race to become China. This COVID-19 episode and the pains that we have undergone gives itself an opportunity to put itself to really compete with China and occupy that position. And it will gain global importance, not only in fighting this virus, but reinventing its own business model across, including agriculture. Now, as far as the books are concerned, my evergreen favorite books are the number one is that our own epics, both Ramayana and Mahabharata, it has got rich lessons. The second one I would I always cherish in learning in terms of endurance, reinventing ourselves is a book, Cathedral of Sea. It is written by Idelfonso Falcons. It's a Spanish author, English translated. It is available in Amazon. And I had
and why do you recommend this book? What's so special? Give us a peek.
It is about the struggle in life, having faith, and despite adversities, reinventing oneself. And
beautiful book for the times.
Beautiful book. The third one I had shared with you, Dr. Batra. It is Robert Harris' series of books. It is the Lustrum, Imperium, Dictator. This particular series of Cicero's life in Rome is an inspirational book, and how he coped with many adversity, like Julius Caesar's might or Pompey's warriorship. He still survived, and he excelled with just his knowledge and oratory. But once you read that, he's a philosopher. He's not in that Aristotle league. But then the most important book I don't recommend to the youngsters at the old age is that on death itself he has written a book that that what it means to deal with the fear of death. And so he is a role model according to me. But then there are a series of books, like one should follow closely Leonardo da Vinci, as well as Michelangelo. But the foremost human being in our own land we should be proud of is Mahatma Gandhi, whose words were, live as if you will die tomorrow, learn as if you are going to live forever. And so therefore, don't worry about pay cuts or job losses. Live and enjoy, and God will keep you going. But learn as if you are going to live for many, many years. And so Gandhi's books, together with that of Thakur and Rabindranath Tagore, and Gandhi's letters one must read, that were complete conflict of opinion. They were two different personalities, how they still maintained relationship.
Fantastic. On that optimistic note, I'd like to recommend a book to you, and when I meet you, I possibly will give it to you, or if you'd like to, you can download it on Kindle. You talked about perfection in somebody, the professor talked about how we should not be so, we should be more empathetic, not worry about being fully productive all the time. This is a book called The Gifts of Imperfection by Dr. Brené Brown. It basically is about accepting yourself as you are. It's about not being guilty of who you are. And she's a leading researcher on guilt and shame. So she did a research in this research was the base for her book. It's a lovely book. It's called The Gifts of Imperfection by Dr. Brené Brown. I recommend it to you, Mr. Thiagarajan, and to all our viewers and readers. On this note, I know we started 6 minutes late or 9 minutes late, but we'd like to wrap up on time. It's been a fantastic session talking to you. You've given us substantive inputs on economy, on air conditioning, on the kind of advantage India has post-COVID, and you've talked to us in a very real way about leadership, about what we can do as individuals to thrive, and you've given us hope that God looks after all of us, and God will look after all of us. Thank you, Mr. Thiagarajan, for joining us, and we look forward to having another conversation another time. Thank you, God bless you, and keep reading Business World and logging to businessworld.in. Thank you, God bless you.